season was a very good one for the Twins, and tonight they are hoping for more of the same as they kick off the second half tonight in Oakland against the A's. Minnesota is 5 games back in the American League Central behind the Royals, but the Twins do hold that wild card spot as we speak right now. That's a pretty good spot for the Twins to be in. Good evening and welcome to Oco Coliseum. I'm Marnie Gellner. This was a forgettable start to the season, but once the Twins got past that first week, they regrouped and they responded with some very good baseball. Since April 15th, the Twins have put together a 48-35 record. Just needed to get the footing underneath them, and since they did, we saw a very different baseball team. One of the reasons is Torrey Hunter and his leadership in the clubhouse and on the field. 14 homers, 49 knocked in from the guy who turns 40 tomorrow. The youth movement is underway as well. Aaron Hicks now looks like he belongs. Eddie Rosario, Miguel Sano, they are rookies who are making a big impact in this lineup. And Brian Dozier has really delivered in the first half. The all-star second baseman leads Minnesota with those offensive numbers. 19 homers. He's crossed the plate 67 times. The Twins have gotten contributions up and down the lineup from so many different guys. Dick Bramer, Jack Morris, that's not to underestimate the job that the starting staff has done. Those starters have been a pleasant surprise for a lot of Twins fans this year.
And an overdue pleasant surprise. Thank you, Marnie. Yeah, if you look at the biggest area of improvement for the Twins this year from where they've been the last 4 years, clearly it's the starting pitching. As we begin play in the second half, the starters giving up one full earned run less than they did a year ago at this time.
Yeah, and Paul Molitor was talking about in his pregame interviews today that the Twins are 9 games better than they were last year. Just a flip-flop of the record at the break. With that being said, 9 games is significant, and it's pretty much directly related to how the starting pitchers have done, in my opinion. Irvin Santana takes the mound to lead the Twins in the second half here. His first start against the Royals, he did an outstanding job with his slider. He was off the plate, down and away, mostly down and in on the left-handers. In his last start against the Detroit Tigers, he left a couple balls up. The slider wasn't quite as sharp. Sonny Gray, on the other hand, this is one of the game's best young pitchers. What makes him so good is his fastball. He is able to move it on both sides of the plate, and he's got that over-the-top breaking ball. Tremendous confidence. He's got the mindset of one of the best pitchers in the game.
Twins went into the All-Star break with a lot of momentum. Now coming out of the break, maybe the toughest road trip of the year with 3 games against the A's, and the Anaheim Angels will face a lot of really good starting pitching.
First half seemed to take everyone by surprise in Twins territory except for the team. Paul Molitor has Minnesota playing with confidence and believing that they can contend in the American League. Right now the Twins would be a part of Major League Baseball's postseason. The question is, can they keep climbing the ladder to achieve that goal? The season's second half starts next in Oakland.
And part of the successful first half of the season built against the Oakland A's. The Twins had a 4-game series with Oakland in early May. And the Twins averaged 7 runs scored per game in those 4 games, winning 3 of them. And I don't think anyone's expecting that kind of an offensive outburst in this series here in the Bay Area.
Well, especially with this guy on the mound, Sonny Gray, towing the rubber for the Oakland A's. He's one of the game's better pitchers. Started the last game of the regular first half for the Oakland A's. Threw a 2-hit shutout against Cleveland, and it was a member of the All-Star team even though he didn't pitch. So he's basically pitching in back-to-back games, one of only a handful of A's pitchers to ever do that.
And Paul Molitor had that same opportunity with Kyle Gibson, who pitched a great ball game against the Tigers on Sunday, but the Twins shuffled their rotation around a little bit. And instead we'll go with Irvin Santana. Here's the Menards batting order for the Twins. Brian Dozier, Torrey Hunter, Joe Mauer. Then Miguel Sano, Trevor Plouffe, Eddie Rosario, Aaron Hicks, Kurt Suzuki, and Danny Santana.
And that's who they're going to face. Sonny Gray, you can see the numbers. He's making his 19th start. What makes him so good is his fastball. He's able to run it in on left-handers and run it back in on right-handers. Both sides of the plate with his fastball. Got the very good breaking ball over the top, but he's got the mindset of a real war horse. He knows he can win. He can't wait to get out there.
Boy, has this been a sore spot for the Oakland A's. The Northland Ford defense. Zobrist in left, Burns in center, Reddick in right. Big issues at short. Marcus Semien has 28 errors at short. And we'll see if the A's, who've averaged nearly an error per game in the first half, can tighten things up in the second half. Dozier in the box, ready to get the second half started against Sonny Gray. Swing and a foul, 1 strike.
Well, you kind of just nailed something with the Oakland A's. They lead the major leagues in errors, and you cannot do that and contend. I don't care how good a team you have, how good a pitching you have. When you're making the kind of errors on a consistent basis that the A's are making, you're not going to have a chance to win many games.
And Dozier takes a strike on the outside corner, 0-2. Dozier, of course, the one position player the Twins had in the All-Star game, and his only at bat, he hit a home run to center field. 0-2 from Gray. Off the plate, 1-2. Twins haven't seen a whole lot of Sonny Gray.
No, he's 2-0. ERA just slightly over 5, which is surprising because here's a guy that's second in all of baseball going into today's game in earned run average.
Fouled back by Dozier.
Only Zach Greinke of the Dodgers has a better earned run average at this point than Sonny Gray.
Pitching has not been a problem for the A's this year. In fact, it's been a strength. Hunter on deck, and Mauer will follow. Up high. 2-2. Gray has had a couple of 5-inning starts against the Twins. Dozier drives one to left field. Ben Zobrist going back. He has done it again.
Brian Dozier can handle the high fastball, and he's one of the few guys. He's so quick with his hands, and I don't believe that's a pitch he actually looks for. He just reacts so well to the ball up, and especially up and in. He gets that top hand over on top of the ball better than anybody. Let's watch the swing here. You can see he just is able to drop the bat head. He doesn't have that big loop that a lot of hitters have. He doesn't drop his hands. He just comes straight down to the ball and still stays on top of it. And what a week this kid's having, huh? He goes to the All-Star game, hits a home run. His first at bat against Sonny Gray, he hits a home run.
Pop up down the right field line in the sun. Reddick continuing to drift, makes the catch. Hunter quickly retired.
Well, 2 walk-off home runs in the final homestand before the break, and then he has 1 plate appearance in the All-Star game. And of course, he had a home run.
Yeah, the Minnesota Twins really represented themselves well in that All-Star break. You see Bryant's home run. That's coming off Mark Melancon, and then Glenn Perkins to close out the game for the American League does it again. Just a great job by those 2 guys. I was there. I was able to talk to them, and they sure were having a lot of fun. And then they did the job too.
Mauer takes a strike on the outside corner. Brian Dozier in this first inning, in this first at bat, becomes the 7th American leaguer to hit his 20th home run. He had a total of 23 all last year. He did not hit as many in the second half as he did in the first half last year. And he's off to a real good start in that category this year.
Dick, I was able to talk to him before the game and interviewed him at the All-Star game, and I said, Twins fans are really getting accustomed to you hitting home runs. I said, is there any reason that they should expect that it's going to taper off? And he said, I don't see any reason why.
Semien lobs a throw over to Davis, 2 down. And 28 errors for the A's shortstop. He was acquired from the Chicago White Sox in the hopes that he would be their everyday shortstop. They've added Ron Washington, former Twins infielder, former Texas manager, to help tighten up Semien's game in the field, and it's been met with mixed results. Here's Miguel Sano.
I think there's a lot of people that really question whether he's a full-time Major League shortstop yet.
Gray shaves the outside corner to Sano.
I know the Oakland A's have pretty much let him take over that job, but you can't play that position and have those kind of errors.
And now down and away, 1-1.
Here's a guy that Twins fans should be pretty pleased with so far in his small sample size of what he's been able to do since being called up from Double-A.
A handful of at-bats, but very impactful first few weeks in the big leagues. And a check swing, 1 hopper back to the mound. Twins are done in the first inning, but Brian Dozier picks up in the second half where he left off in the first half. Home run of the year, giving the Twins a 1-0 lead. And Bob Melvin has his team playing pretty good baseball since May 23rd. They've got the best record in the American League, but they got off to such a horrible start. It's anybody's guess whether they can recover and even get to the 500 mark this year. The Menards batting order: Billy Burns leading off, Stephen Vogt batting second, then Ben Zobrist, Josh Reddick, Billy Butler, Ike Davis, Brett Laurie, Eric Sogard, and Marcus Semien.
And they're going to be facing Irvin Santana. He's making his 3rd start for the Twins. 1 good one, 1 not so good one. His last start against the Tigers, he gave up 6 runs on 8 hits over 4 innings pitched. So hopefully game 1 Ervin Santana will show up here in Oakland today.
Burns, a speedster. He's having a good rookie season. He takes strike one. And now inside 1-1. Burns got his feet wet, got a cup of coffee, whatever the cliche is. He got in 13 games last year, but had only 6 at bats. He slashes one foul between the legs of Mike Gallego.
Talking to some of the Oakland people about Billy Burns, they said this guy doesn't hit a lot of balls in the air. He hits a lot of balls on the ground, which is really conducive to his game because he's legged out a lot of balls hit right at the shortstop, forcing him to go to his right a little bit. He's got great speed, so his running game is a big part of his offense.
First half that would get him some Rookie of the Year votes, but it's a fairly wide open honor. Here's a ball chopped to the right side, 2 hops for Mauer, and he scampers to the bag, 1 away. And that'll bring up Stephen Vogt. Twins with an improved defense this year, particularly in the outfield. Northland Ford defense, Rosario's in left, Hicks in center, Hunter in right. Plouffe very steady at third. Danny Santana, rough start, but he's gotten a little bit better. Dozier, Gold Glove caliber defense at second. Mauer at first. Suzuki behind the plate. Only 5 teams in the American League have committed fewer errors than the Twins.
And another reason why the Twins are where they are right now, I believe, the outfield defense much improved.
That ball slashed down the line, foul. 1 strike to All-Star Stephen Vogt.
Stephen Vogt got a few innings behind the dish at the All-Star game.
He's had an All-Star catcher last year in Derek Norris. They traded him, and now they've got an All-Star catcher in Stephen Vogt.
Again, talking to some of the coaches and players about Stephen Vogt, they said he is kind of the team leader in the clubhouse. He's the guy that keeps it all together.
Well, it has to be, because the team leaders that were here a year ago were all traded. Norris, Josh Donaldson,
and Sean Doolittle, who are their closer, is on the DL. So a lot of changes for Oakland.
Down and in, and it's 1-2. Twins were counting on a full season of Ervin Santana. They'll get half of that, roughly. Making his 3rd start. Hooked foul over by the Twins bullpen. Look at them scatter.
Well, the sun's in their eyes. I rarely protect those guys in the pen, but I will say they probably had a tough look at that one. And
Casey Fiend may have gotten drilled by that.
They're a close-knit group out there.
High fly to short right. Hunter coming in a few steps for out number 2.
Here's the Twins bullpen. The ball's hit sharply. You can see the sun. Where's the ball?
Yeah, Casey Fiend right in the foot.
And of course, that's going to bring a lot of laughter to the other guys. As long as it wasn't your foot, why not laugh?
Hey, you were a starting pitcher, so you probably didn't spend too much time down there. The most dismal place I've ever seen at a baseball park was the bullpen at Tiger Stadium.
Yeah. It was. I spent a year down there. And that was one of the reasons I vowed to myself never become a reliever. I mean, you spend a year down there. And I'll tell you some stories off the air about one of my teammates and why it was so miserable down there.
2 gone here in the first. And the count 1-1 to Ben Zobrist. And outside 2-1, Zobrist, one of several A's rumored to be on the trading block. Doesn't mean they'll be traded, but a lot of teams have an interest in a super utility player and a really good switch hitter like Ben Zobrist. And he drives it to the gap in center. Hicks is over, and ball sailed on him a little bit, knuckled on him. He was there to make the catch, and it's a 1-2-3 first inning for Ervin Santana.
I asked Paul Molitor early tonight about getting guys back into the groove here to start a second half of the season, and Molitor said one of the big keys is playing into the break, that you don't take the final couple of games off, and the Twins did not do that. And he said you also prepare yourself to let go of a little bit, physically and mentally, so that when you come back, you know the task at hand. Molitor also said his message to his players was, you've only just begun trying to accomplish some of the things that we have set out to do. So Dick and Jack, Molly said that he's fine taking this as a break. Give it some physical and mental rest, but then let's pick up right where we left off.
And hope the start of the second half is better than the start of the first half. Ball shot past Sogard into right field. Thank you, Marty. It's a leadoff single for Trevor Plouffe.
That ball was hit hard right there. Good swing. Trevor Plouffe getting the ball by Sogard at second base. Talking to Paul myself about that very same thing, and we were discussing how in our generation it was 3 days off. Now it's 4, that extra day, and the pluses and minuses about that. He said mentally I think it's a good thing, but physically sometimes players are in baseball being a unique sport, we're kind of victims of routine, and sometimes timing can be off a little bit the more games you miss.
Short fly ball to left, and making the catch is Zobrist, and he fires back to first, 1 away. Rosario retired on 1 pitch. Well, the homestand leading into the break, impressive on a lot of fronts. The Twins went 6-1, and you say, well, it's, you know, Detroit and Baltimore, they were 500 teams. They were 500 teams because the Twins went 6-1.
Right.
The Twins drove both teams down to the 500 mark at the All-Star break.
I look at the game that Irvin Santana pitched in the comeback. He gave up 6 runs. The Twins were down in the 9th inning. Verlander on the mound, and the Twins came back and beat Joakim Soria, and that's a huge confidence builder to me going into the All-Star break. Talking to Glenn Perkins, talking to Brian Dozier at the All-Star break, they were both mentioning, hey, we just wanted to keep the season going. We were playing so good, we really didn't need this break. We would rather keep going playing games because they were winning games.
1-0 to Aaron Hicks. And quite a turnaround for Aaron Hicks. The first half of the season started with him on the AAA roster, and he's come back in his 3rd season after being hurt, looking like a much improved baseball player. He's always been good in center field, but has drawn some walks, looks a lot more confident at the plate. Tap foul.
You know, one thing I also see in Aaron, the difference here this year is he was kind of criticized a couple times about his lackadaisical attitude. He would forget counts and how many outs there were, those kind of things. And since coming back, you can see his focus has been much improved, especially defensively. He seems to really have a good read on every pitch, and the Twins certainly appreciate what he's doing defensively.
Up and away. And of course, at some point in a couple of weeks, the Twins hope to have Byron Buxton back in the mix. It'll be an interesting situation. It's a fun thing to imagine how athletic the Twins outfield could be in the very near future, and certainly long term, as long as Hicks continues to improve. And he takes ball 4. So Hicks takes a walk, and the Twins have a threat here, first and second, with 1 out. Suzuki coming to the plate. And here's our Sanford Health injury report on Byron Buxton. Be rehabbing the injury this week. Byron thought he might be able to rejoin the club yet later this month. A better guess, a more realistic guess, I'm guessing, would be sometime early in August.
Yeah, I asked Paul about him, and he said, you know, he hasn't even started his baseball activities yet. They're still waiting for that injury to take its course, and before he begins his daily baseball activities.
Talked earlier about the Oakland A's and how they had an all-star catcher last year in Derek Norris, an all-star catcher this year in Stephen Vogt. And of course, the Twins had the former A, Kurt Suzuki, as their all-star catcher last year. Up in a big spot here. The Twins already leading 1-0. First and second and 1 down. And a strike call, 1-1.
Take advantage of the opportunities that you get. You're not probably going to get a lot off Sonny Gray. We talked about his tremendous earned run average through a shutout, 2-hit shutout his last start against Cleveland. So the Twins are going to have to capitalize on the opportunities that they get.
Strike called, 1-2.
This is a good example of how he can move the ball in and out.
He has the lowest ERA listed among American League pitchers, and the Oakland A's as a team have the lowest earned run average in the 15-team league. Suzuki takes 2-2.
You know, I say this tongue-in-cheek, but maybe it's partly to do with the official scorekeeper here. You know, you've got a great pitching staff and leading the world in errors. So everything that's close, they just give him an error. It doesn't cause an earned run.
This guy's tough. He doesn't give up many base hits. Opponent batting average of 198. The Twins have a couple of hits. Trying here to take advantage of Plouffe's leadoff single. This one lifted to right. Playable for Redding. Plouffe setting up for a possible tag. And he will head to third. It's cut off by Semien. First and third. 2 down. Hicks with speed at first, a base stealing threat with the number 9 batter Santana coming to the plate. Vogt giving signs in front of home plate in the event Hicks does take off. I really think the Twins want to accelerate their running game and the bunting game and all the things we saw ramp up leading into the break. I think for this team to have the type of second half they had in the first half, they will need to do more and more of that. And particularly in a series like this, and to a lesser extent maybe the Anaheim series, runs figure to come or be hard to come by.
And there's nothing teams can do with against great speed. Danny Santana being one of the guys that Twins fans, me in particular, I'm sure you do, Dick, feel like, man, he was so good last year, and you know, we just need to get him close to where he was because he creates havoc on the bases. Aaron Hicks can run. He's at first. Trevor Plouffe at third base, not so much, but he's 90 feet away, so base hit will score him easily. But yeah, team speed. You know, you look at Rosario, you look at Buxton, you look at Hicks, you look at Santana, and there's potential there to really have some fun down the road.
A couple of quick strikes to Santana. And up the line foul. If Santana can have the type of second half he had last year, this team is going to score a lot more runs per game in the second half than they did in the first half.
No question. You know, that's a lot to ask considering where Danny's been at this year, but there are signs that he's getting back on track. He's a dynamic player. When he was swinging it and running around like he was last year in the second half, it puts pressure on teams.
2 strikes to Santana, and Hicks checked at first. Should explain, I suppose, Bert Blyleven taking some time off. We're very happy to have another right-hander, Jack Morris, who's going to be sitting in here on this road trip. 0-2 to Danny Santana. Delayed steal, but Santana strikes out. Hicks was on his way to second. Santana strikes out to end the inning, and the Twins leave 2 aboard. Dozier home run. As we go to the bottom of the second, and our Coors Light cold hard facts. Ervin Santana getting the start here in part because he's done very well against the A's and a lot of experience against them. Remember, most of his career spent as a pitcher for the Angels. Here's Josh Reddick, and he takes one down the middle of strike.
Trust me, both sides are very aware of his success against Oakland. Paul Molitor suggesting today that he was picked to start the second half for the Twins.
Santana hesitated. Now he gets there, makes the catch, one away.
In part because he's fresh. And they know that he's not going to be available for postseason, so they're going to want to have Ervin Santana get as many starts the second half as they can get him.
Well, it's unmistakable to just remark about the contrast in how these two teams have handled the All-Star break. Both Sonny Gray and Kyle Gibson, who's been Minnesota's best starter in the first half, pitched on Sunday. Both teams had the opportunity to bring them back on their normal turn to pitch the opening game of this series. But oddly, the team in contention shuffled the rotation, and the team that right now is out of contention kept their guy in his turn. Here's a ball hit to right field. Hunter is there to catch the line drive. Butler retired, 2 down.
Well, Paul addressed that today, and I asked the question about his choices for the rotation as he's going in the second half, and he kind of indicated that he wanted Santana to go because he's the freshest. They also want to give a lot of the whole rotation basically a little bit of a breather, and by letting Santana pitch the first game, that moves them all back another day. You know, he's thinking as the season wears on, he wants to keep everybody fresh.
Outside of ball. The guy that they're particularly protective of at this time would be Mike Pelfrey, who has been a big part of the resurgence this year, fading a little bit towards the end of the first half. But you know, this is a guy in the last 3 years who has not pitched 200 innings total, and so they're a little careful, a little squeamish about extending him to 200 innings when he hasn't pitched over 3 years a total of 200 innings in the big leagues.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I don't, you know, I could give my opinion on that, and I will, because I guess that's what analysts do, right?
That's why we're paying you the big bucks, Jack.
I don't think you really look at Mike Pelfrey and compare him from the last 2 years with the Twins and this year. I think he's 100% healthy. You know, he's been out there. We've seen some brilliant games out of him, and then we've seen a couple of hiccups along the way. And I don't think that's due to his health or worrying about innings. You know, you don't see guys pitch 250, 260, 270 innings anymore. So 200 is not an unreasonable number, in my opinion, for starters. And if he hits all his starts, he should be right around there.
2-2 to Ike Davis. Fly ball center field. Aaron Hicks comes in a few steps. A couple of 1-2-3 innings for Ervin Santana back on the West Coast with a 1-0 lead. Presented by Menards. Save big money at Menards on all your home improvement needs. And by Chrysler. Enjoy your summer in style with great deals at the Chrysler Summer Clearance event. Taken a tour of Alcatraz before?
I've never been on the Rock. Took the boat, the ferry from Sausalito back to the dock area here, whatever they call it.
Pier 39, I believe, yeah.
And it goes right by Alcatraz. That was a lot of fun.
Strike one to Brian Dozier. Hit a home run. Fell behind quickly 0-2. Then worked the count even. And clobbered a home run, number 20. As we try to process what's happened in the first half and ponder what might happen in the second half, a lot of areas of improvement, and the power numbers modestly better than they've been too. The Twins last year hit 128 home runs. With Dozier's home run in the first inning, they're on a pace to hit about 140 this year. An incremental improvement, but yet improvement nonetheless. And a liner to the third baseman, Laurie, one away.
That ball was hit crisply. Laurie made a nice play.
Join us July 25th for a DQ sensational Saturday. The Twins taking on the Yankees. And the first 10,000 fans get a Brian Dozier bobblehead. Presented by Fisher Nuts. Go to twinsbaseball.com/tickets. Get your tickets today. Here's Torrey Hunter. And a strike at the knees. Torrey hit a fly ball to right in the first pitch he saw. This is his last full day as a 39-year-old.
Yeah.
Tomorrow he will turn 40. Two hopper to short, backhanded by Semien. And a low throw dug out by Davis, one away. And Sonny Gray gets a couple of quick outs here. And it's got to be a comfort to him to pitch to an all-star catcher in Stephen Vogt.
Again, Sonny Gray, he was voted to the all-star game but did not pitch because he pitched the last game prior to the break. Stephen Vogt did get in the game for the American League.
2 down, and here's Bauer. Got a ground ball to Semien. Chopper over the mound. Semien made the play, the flip to first. And outside, ball one. Joe's batting average climbed. In fact, it hit a baseline at 250 and then jumped into the 270s before the break. Fouled away. 1-1.
Another guy that the Twins desperately need to get back closer to the numbers that Twins fans have gotten accustomed to from Joe Mauer. He is a big part. Number 3 hitter. He's always hitting there 2 or 3 in the lineup. The Twins have done a nice job of keeping him healthy this year.
Outside, 2-1.
And he's done a great job defensively at first base.
Six home runs at the break. Twins hope to get at least 6 more in the second half. Ground ball to second. Sogard's very steady at second base. He makes the play, and Sonny Gray has a 1-2-3 third inning. And the Twins an early 1-0 lead. Our carsoup.com trivia question: who's the only Twins pitcher since 2000 to win 10 or more games after the All-Star break? Now, the year 2000, I believe, was Brad Radke's 20-win season, so he might have won 10 in the second half. So who's the only guy to have done it since? Outside to Brett Lawrie.
Do I get a guess right now?
Yeah, hey, you know, that's all these are up here, guesses. By
Johan Santana might have, and maybe it was Francisco Liriano. Did he have that great second half?
He did, but that was also the year that he blew out his elbow.
Yeah. More of the games were in the first half, right? Yeah. I don't.
Inside 2-1 to Lawrie, who's gotten a little bit better every month for the A's as the team has gotten a little bit better. 2-1. And he fouls it away. One of the discouraging things for the A's, as good as they've been, and they're 27-20 since May 23rd. That's the best record in the American League. But their division, the American League West, has already turned over once. The Houston Astros jumped out in front, but now they've been overcome. Now ball to second. Dozier bobbles it in right field, and Lawrie will reach. Now the Anaheim Angels have the lead in the American League West, and the A's are still in last place. We'll see how they scored. I'm guessing an error on Dozier.
Either case, it's the first base runner off of Ervin Santana.
It's got to be an error, isn't it? Yes. Error charged to Dozier, and now Eric Sogard will bat. For the Twins, the 48th error on the season. See, the A's have a lot of work to do. And a year ago, they were 23 games above the 500 mark and barely made it into the playoffs as a wild card team. They blew a big lead and lost the game in extra innings to the Kansas City Royals. There's a fly ball short left field. Rosario with the catch, one away.
Sixth fly ball out already in this game. And Ervin Santana, I think, is kind of figuring things out here. Let's look at some of the pitches he gave up against the Tigers. He gave up 6 runs in 4 innings. Home run pitches, both those to Victor Martinez. That one to Yoenis Cespedes, inner half, right in their wheelhouses. And J.D. Martinez, not such a terrible pitch, except that J.D. Martinez loves the ball down and away and shoots the ball the other way a lot. So 3 home runs kind of led to his demise in that game.
Ball 1 to Marcus Semien. And now outside 2-0. Talk about Semien's errors, and it's hard to ignore them. 28 is a big number by the All-Star break for a shortstop. The Baltimore Orioles as a team have only 39 errors, and this man all by himself has 28.
Quite honestly, it shows how patient the Oakland A's are with him. There's a lot of teams that wouldn't tolerate that. You know, you make a dozen errors in a couple months and they're kind of raising their eyebrows. But
it's off the end of the bat, and it'll drop in front of Hicks for a single. Lawrie to second, tying run in scoring position with 1 out. Hit her right off the end of the bat for the first hit of the night for Oakland.
Well, now Santana's going to have to regroup. He was cruising along the first 2 innings, perfect. And this one off the end of the bat, you can literally see it hit the end of the bat, but you put a good swing on the ball and it has enough carry to get over the shortstop second baseman's head.
Speedster Billy Burns got a ground ball to Mauers first time up. It's the only ground ball out that Santana's gotten so far tonight. Chop foul on the cutter inside, 1 strike.
Burns a tough guy to double up. Hits the ball on the ground, so. But Ervin Santana, a lot of fly ball out so far. Not a strikeout, not a walk. He's bringing his defense into play.
And Santana steps off. Talked about the A's being the best team in the American League in earned run average. The Twins smack dab in the middle, 8th in a 15-team league.
But a whole 1 point better than last year.
Hopped up, and Suzuki fires his mask, and Plouffe calls him off. 2 down. Suzuki said, "What are you doing? This is my turf."
He's a foot off the catcher's dirt.
2 away, and let's take a listen to number 2.
You know, as long as somebody catches it, Paul Molitor really doesn't care. Communicate, and that's what Trevor Plouffe was calling it all the way, and finally Kurt Suzuki gave way to him because he was persistent.
The top RBI guy on this Oakland team, Stephen Vogt, he takes outside ball 1.
Big out there. And the 2 toughest hitters in the lineup, back-to-back with Vogt and Zobrist. So Santana going to have to be careful here, make a good pitcher's pitch.
A's playing a couple more games in the first half than the Twins did. Scored 7 more runs than the Twins did before the All-Star break.
This ballpark really is a tale of 2 different ballparks between night games and day games.
And now a strike, 2-1.
And it used to be even worse than it is now before they built that huge cement structure in center field that was part of trying to entice the Raiders to come back to Oakland. But the ball really doesn't carry at all to center field at night, especially later on when that dense air starts rolling off the hills here. And yet in the daytime the ball carries well here. So
we'll have a day game here Sunday. The tomorrow game will start an hour earlier. Santana trying to pitch out of a bit of a jam here. He's got a 1-0 lead, first and second, 2 down. 2-2 to the Oakland catcher. Headed up the middle. Dozier will backhand it, and he'll hold it. He'll keep the ball somewhat in the infield. More importantly, keeping Laurie at third base. Had no play to get it out.
No.
But by backhanding it, he kept Laurie from scoring.
And that extended shift really prevented a run from scoring right there. You can see how deep Dozier's playing, way off into the grass. That ball typically would be up the middle for a base hit, scoring Laurie easily. But Dozier getting to the ball and keeping it basically in the infield, even though he is on the grass. There's no way that Mike Gallego, the third base coach, should send Brett Laurie there.
Bases loaded, 2 down now for Ben Zobrist, lined out to Hicks his first time up, and he takes ball 1. Zobrist can play just about anywhere on the field. Fouled back, has been a better right-handed batter than left this year. Wouldn't take too much imagination, I don't suppose, to see him dealt maybe to the Chicago Cubs, play for his former manager Joe Madden.
I'm sure Joe Madden would welcome him back. He understands this guy very well.
1-1, and a pop-up near first base. Mauer comes in, and in foul ground ends the inning. So Santana pitches around an error and a pair of singles. It's still 1-0. jumping from Double-A and jumping right into the middle of a pennant race.
What a welcome sight for Twins fans. See the kind of power, bad speed, just strength. Kenny Vargas had a little bit of this last year, but Sano coming up, and in my opinion, I look at this guy and I say to myself, he hasn't been in Double-A. This is a guy that's been in the big leagues for 5 to 8 years. The way he takes his approach at the plate.
You know, the Twins have had 2 rookies who've done that. Less notably, maybe Eddie Rosario, who from the moment he stepped into the lineup hit like a veteran, or carried himself like somebody who'd been here before. It's a ground ball backhanded by Laurie at third, and a long throw across to Davis, one away. 6 in a row set down by Sonny Gray. Time now for you to tweet your strongest fan photo. Use hashtag NorthDataStrongFan, and you just might see yourself in an upcoming broadcast brought to you by T-Mobile. Dick Bramer, Marnie Gellner, and Jack Morris bringing you West Coast baseball. We're very glad you've decided to stay up late tonight to watch the Twins.
A couple of my buddies could not wait for this series to start. They've been anxious. The All-Star break was over. It's like, where are the Twins? Where are the Twins at? I miss my Twins games.
Well, I know I missed them. 4-day break. It's good to get back into the swing of things here with a team that just had a wonderful first half. It's not a perfect team. Might not even be a great team. But it is a competitive team.
Much improved team, that's for sure.
And I think we're convinced that there aren't any great teams in the American League. At least I don't think there are. And so it's going to be an interesting second half. Wolf lifts it fairly deep down the right field line to the corner. Reddick crossing the line makes a wonderful catch on the warning track. Josh Reddick with a long run and a catch right before he hit the fence.
You can only make plays like this if you have no fear. He takes a peek, sees right there, he saw the wall, and he knew he was going to hit it. But great play. You just always kind of cringe when you see guys go in that hard. A lot of guys will slide, and that'll mess up their legs worse than that. He just caught the ball and bounced right off the wall. Thank goodness for padding.
And all that foul territory here. It's even generous down the line.
I was going to say, all the way into the corner, it's probably 3 more feet of foul territory than most new ballparks.
1 strike to Eddie Rosario. His rookie season kind of reflects the Twin season. We all marveled at how he was able to keep his batting average in the 270, 280 range, and then he slumped a little bit, but then found a spark, had a hot homestand, got the batting average up into the 280s again. Flipped foul, and he'll never forget his first game against the Oakland A's, his first game in the big leagues, or the first pitch thrown to him.
I don't think a lot of Twins fans will forget that anytime soon. His family there taking pictures, team giving him the silent treatment, and he couldn't wait to get to the other end so he could turn around and get some high fives.
Quick strikeout here and a quick 4th inning for Sonny Gray as he sets the Twins down 1-2-3. Link, your link to what's next. By NorthlandFord.com and your local Northland Ford dealer. And by Grand Casino. The best stories start here. I went across the Golden Gate Bridge after we got in town last night. Went over to Sausalito. Josh Reddick will lead off the fourth. And there is strike one. It'll be Reddick, Butler, and Davis facing Irvin Santana in the fourth. The A's had a threat, filled the bases, in fact, with 2 down in the third, but Santana got out of it. And now Reddick takes outside 1-1.
Santana started this game with 1-2-3 innings, and then through 20 pitches, escaped damage with bases loaded in the third.
And missing again, 2-1. Have a tough inning. He'd like to come back and have a quick one in the next inning.
Yeah, retire that first hitter. Get the momentum back.
Fouled away, 2-2.
I get a feeling as I'm watching Sonny Gray, he's starting to get dialed in. First hitter of the game, scores the only run, and it seems like he's getting stronger and stronger. Santana's going to have to do the same.
2-2. High fly down the right field line, and Torrey Hunter in foul ground makes the catch, 1 away. And that'll bring up Billy Butler. Tomorrow, the quarterfinals of the 2015 CONCACAF. You know what that is? Gold Cup, sponsored by Chevrolet. It begins as Clinton Dempsey and Team USA continues its quest for a second consecutive Gold Cup title when they take on Cuba. Coverage begins at 3:30 p.m. Central on Fox 9, streaming live on Fox Sports Go. And I apologize, I'm just not much of a soccer aficionado. Fly ball to center. Butler is retired with Hicks making the catch in center. And that'll bring up Ike Davis.
I don't imagine you have a lot of time to watch soccer. You're kind of busy with this game of baseball.
That's true. That's I guess I've got a defense. If I'm watching sports on television, it's going to be baseball. Here's Davis. A couple of outfield flies to add to the 8 already on the board for Santana. I don't know how wrapped up you are in stats, but one of the least pertinent stats that's out there is, to me, run differential. And to me, Exhibit A is the Oakland A's. This is a team that at one point was 16 games below 500. They're right now 9 below 500. And yet they are a plus 44 in run differential. In other words, they've scored 44 more runs than they've allowed, but they're 9 games underwater.
Yeah, what it means is their blowout games are big.
The ball hit to right fairly well, but Hunter literally in his tracks didn't have to move. 3 quick outfield flies.
Good.
And Santana has that easy 4. 1-0 Twins, and Aaron Hicks shows bunt and takes ball one. Brian Dozier's leadoff home run in the first, the only run of the game. The Twins have added one more hit. The A's have added a pair of singles. This so far has played out just as we thought it would. We expect all 3 games of this series to be low-scoring games. Hicks pulls it to the glove of Ike Davis. A sinking liner, and Davis with a jump, and he caught the ball with his glove almost right in front of his face. One down.
Well, put on a good swing here. You can't always control where it goes. Ike Davis reacting to the ball. Really didn't have to jump, but I think sometimes it's instinct.
New fans of the game, Twins fans from the Bay Area, get a chance to watch their team with the second best record in the American League. One down, and Kurt Suzuki.
I saw a couple Twins fans from the Twin Cities here.
Yeah. Suzuki with a fly to right his first time up, and he takes down low. Nope, took it at the knees for a strike.
What I love about coming to Oakland is my favorite time of year in Minnesota is the fall, when that crisp air kind of blows out that humidity in the summertime. And here it feels like fall almost every evening. Every evening it just feels crisp, and man, if you're not invigorated and don't feel alive in this weather, I don't know where I can tell you to go.
2 strikes to Suzuki. And he strikes out, and another quick out for Sonny Gray. Second time through the order, and he's retired all 8 batters, and a total now of 11 in a row set down. That'll bring up Danny Santana. You can follow live Twins baseball every day with MLB.com @bat on your smartphone or tablet. Stay connected to the Twins all season with MLB.tv Game of the Day, in-game highlights, live look-ins, replay reviews, radio broadcasts, and more. Browse the app's new features, including StatCast, tracking videos, bilingual access for Spanish-speaking fans. Download MLB.com @bat, the #1 app for live baseball. Danny Santana struck out, leaving 2 men on his first time up. And flared foul.
Sonny Gray working ahead in the count, and he seems to really have found his rhythm out there.
Two strikes to Santana. Twins with the leadoff home run in the first by Dozier. Leadoff single by Plouffe in the second, and that's been it in the hit department.
After Brian Dozier's leadoff home run in the first inning, his first at bat, Twins are 0 for 5 with 2 strikes. That kind of shows that Sonny Gray is able to not only get ahead, but put him away once he is ahead.
Dozier hoping for a chance here in the 5th. Slow bouncer to Sogard. And another easy 1, 2, 3, 5th for Sonny Gray. He's retired 11 men in a row.
asked Paul Molitor about what he's seen so far in the 2 starts that he's had, and Molitor called it a mixed bag. That first start was so sharp, the next one not as good. But Molitor said he will get locked in here and that we will see much more consistency out of Santana. Molitor said considering how long he was out, it's not surprised that we would see ups and downs here in his first couple of starts. But Molitor said, Dick and Jack, that we should expect to see him settle in very quickly here in the second half.
Might be seeing it here tonight.
Yeah.
He had one rough inning. Really wasn't all his fault. He got a ground ball to Dozier, who bobbled it in short right field for an opening error in the third. The A's ended up filling the bases but didn't score. 1-1 to Brett Laurie. Eric Sogard, Marcus Semien will follow. It was Laurie's ground ball to Dozier's left that was bobbled and allowed Laurie to reach, starting off the third inning. And now fouled away over the Twins dugout.
Santana had a few extra hitters in the third inning, but 1, 2, 3 innings in the first, second, and fourth. And his pitch count in great shape right now.
Santana reaches back to his right, makes the play to Mauer, one away. Just the second ground ball out. One down. That'll bring up Sogard. Twins playing their only 6 games in California here on this road trip. 3 in Oakland. And then we will fly south after the game Sunday to take on the Angels. The A's, for whatever it's worth, it's just kind of an oddity in their schedule. They're going to play the next 22 games in the state of California.
They've got the Padres and the Dodgers in interleague play and a lot of home games. So, yeah, a month worth of baseball on the West Coast.
Strike one to Eric Sogard. Down and in. People speculate that the A's will be quite active in before the trading deadline because of where they are in the standings. Well, they were active last year.
Yeah,
and they were on top of they were on top of the pile. There's a pitch outside, and it's 3-1. The best record in baseball, and then Billy Beane decided he wanted to upgrade the starting pitching, which was hardly a weak spot. There's a strike called 3-2, but he brought over Jeff Samardzija in the trade that really seemed to
John Lester
really throw them out of whack last year, and I'm not so sure it hasn't carried over to this year as trading Cespedes. Here's a ball hit to center. Hicks going back, still going back, and he makes a running catch for out number 2.
Good recovery right there. Aaron Hicks had a step in and then realized that this ball was going to be hit over his head. He's able to react and get back after it.
2 down. That'll bring up Marcus Semien.
Well, there's a lot of people in Detroit delighted with that Cespedes trade.
Yes. Eventually they got him
right
from the Red Sox for Rick
Porcello.
Down and away above. No, a strike. Apologies. Tom Hallion, the veteran ball strike umpire tonight. Semien with a bouncer to short. Santana has a play and fires to Mauer, and Santana now has retired 7 men in a row.
Good pitching in this one. Twins fans, don't forget, at Twins home games, bring your Circle Me signs, and if you get circled, you may find yourself in the Minnesota Lottery Winner's Circle, where you can win $100 worth of lottery scratch-off tickets, courtesy of the Minnesota Lottery.
Brian Dozier led off the game with a home run. The only run of the game so far. He'll lead off the 6th. He'll be followed by Torrey Hunter and Joe Mauer.
Both pitchers seem to be really dialed in at this point. Runs are going to be tough to come by.
Dozier takes low, ball 1. Twins 9 games above the 500 mark. The A's 9 games below. And we are starting the second half of the season, the post All-Star game half, with a great pitchers duel, 2-0. A year ago, the Twins were 5 under 500 at the break, and then proceeded to lose 10 of the next 14 games, and that was pretty much the end of the season in terms of being competitive in the hopes of getting over. To me, if you are within 5 games at this point, you can't throw in the towel.
No way. And that just shows how important the games prior to the All-Star break are. I think these are momentum changing times for the Twins. These games right now, tough series here in Oakland. Oakland's pitched well, and the Angels have played better than anybody else in the American League West, and especially well at home. So the Twins are going to have a tough road trip to start it. With that being said, if they can play 500 or even win a couple series, they're going to be in great shape.
See whether the Twins can take advantage of a rare walk, and a leadoff walk at that by Sonny Gray, breaking a string of 11 straight batters retired. His second walk tonight. Torrey Hunter will bat with Dozier aboard. September 4th, it's Lynx Night Out, a ticket offer welcomed by Fox Sports North for just $30. Fans receive a ticket to the game, craft beer sampling, and a commemorative Lynx beer stein. For details, visit foxsportsnorth.com. Click on upcoming events. Dozier a threat to steal, and he's checked right away before a pitch to Hunter. Talking about a year ago, the Twins 5 games below 500, and you can't throw in the towel. Kansas City Royals weren't much better than that last year, and they were 90 feet away from winning the World Series last year. Hunter takes low, ball 1. And with that in mind, 15 teams in the league, 8 of them beginning play today were within 5 games of the 500 mark. And of course, the trading deadline, the non-waiver trading deadline, comes up here 2 weeks from today. Hunter takes low, and now Vogt will go to the mound to try to get Sonny Gray back in the strike zone.
A lot of baseball fans really look forward to that trade deadline and see what their organization, what their hometown teams are going to do. In reality, I think, especially in recent years, there's more hype about it than anything that really gets done, because there's only a handful of teams that are really willing to get rid of some of their salary. I call it salary because they don't want to really lose a player, but they also realize that this guy's going to make a lot of money as a free agent or whatever, so they're willing to move him for a short period of time to get maybe a draft choice or a minor leaguer, to get something out of them, knowing they're not going to re-sign them.
Torrey chases a high pitch. It's 2-1.
Cueto from the Reds right now is one of those guys, Johnny Cueto. And a lot of talk throughout baseball, who's going to get Cueto? Well, I wouldn't be shocked if Cueto stays as a Red. I don't know as though it's an automatic that he's going to be moved.
Gray, in reality, I think, has thrown 8 straight pitches out of the strike zone. Torrey chased 1. So it's a 3-1 count.
Good hitters count right here. See if Torrey can maybe do something. He's got to come in.
Toward the hole and past Semien into left field. So a base hit. The Twins have a promising start to the 6th inning.
And hits are so hard to come by. Only the 3rd hit for the Twins. Torrey Hunter doing his part. That leadership that he brings is not only from the mouth, it's It's from what he does at the plate, what he does with the glove, still at a ripe old age of 40 years old tomorrow.
Here's Mauer, a couple of ground balls, one to short, one to second.
Tari was talking about it as he stands there at first base about the All-Star break and how much time. He says, you know, it's great to have it mentally, but he said too much time and I feel like I'm losing my rhythm and I don't want to lose that. He says sometimes I fight it for 3-4 at bats to get some kind of feel again, and this was his third at bat.
Fox Tracks presented by Chrysler. Gray with a good pitch to Mauer, down and in for a strike. Twins had a threat to score in the second after the first inning home run. Ended up with runners at first and third. Now first and second, nobody out. Big at bat here for Mauer.
We talked about Sonny Gray making his 19th start here. He's got one complete game, that being his last start where he threw a 2-hit shutout.
Swing and a miss, 0-2.
And in this game, this inning, so critical for him. Not only does Irvin Santana have pressure on him to hold the lead, when you're in one-run games, both pitchers have to do their part and continue to do it. They both are in great shape with pitch count.
Gray with 3 strikeouts, trying to strike out Mauer here in the 6th. In the dirt, blocked by Vogt, 1-2.
Twins are 0 for 2 with runners in scoring position, and both those were in the second inning. See Vogt, watch him go down, keep that chest in front of the ball. Good job of blocking that one right there, preventing the runners to advance.
One and 2 to Mauer. Pulled foul.
Another pitcher's pitch right there. All Joe could do with that pitch is pull it foul. It was in enough on his hands. And Joe was maybe cheating a bit, just trying to get the bat head out. That by the time the bat actually made contact, the only thing that was going to happen is to pull it foul.
One and 2.
Going right back inside on Mauer.
Got a piece. Less of a piece than the prior pitch, with Gray and Vogt going right back in there again.
It's interesting how Sonny Gray and Stephen Vogt are trying to pitch Joe. So many pitchers try to pitch Joe down and away, and that's why he hits so many balls to left field, because he's willing to shoot the ball. But this is really the part of the, over the years that I've watched Joe Mauer, this is the one part where I think too many guys haven't pitched him, is right underneath the belt on the inside part of the plate, going away again.
2-2. And Vogt will go to the mound again to talk to Sonny Gray.
This may be about not only this pitch, maybe the next pitch, and make sure that you hold the runner at second base. Brian Dozier, give him a second look. Catchers are always reminding pitchers to do that. Sometimes we get carried away with the out and the hitter at the plate and forget about those base runners.
Two and 2. Flared down the left field line, but it's turning left. Still 2-2.
Tough pitch to go that way, but Joe doing the inside out swing, trying to put the bat head on the ball with the ball inside, and a little giddy up on that last fastball. You see this last swing from Joe Mauer, where the location is. See how he got in on the hands right above belt high. Tough pitch to fight off if you're a hitter.
Quite a battle here. And another 2-2 coming. Checked his swing, and he's called out by Tom Hallion.
Joe kind of wanted him to ask third base umpire Alfonso Marquez what he thought. Hellion said, hey, I don't have to ask him. I saw it myself. And here we'll get to take a look at it.
Yeah, I think he went.
I would call that a swing.
I would call it a swing too. But still, I think the point is that there's no reason for an umpire not to ask. We've seen, well, the first game of the season ended. Joe West calling out Torrey Hunter as the home plate umpire when the base ump would have clearly.
Yeah, they have a better view.
They have a better view. We'll see what Sano can do to pick up Mauer here. Fouled over the Twins dugout. Again, you don't get opportunities like this, and Gray will tell you probably after the game whether the Twins score here or not that the worst plate appearance he had wasn't the home run he gave up to Dozier in the first, but the leadoff walk he gave up to Dozier in the sixth.
So many times those leadoff walks come back around to score. The Twins with Sano at the plate need to do something with this at bat.
Well, that pitch called a strike, and Gray gets ahead of Sano 0-2.
Good off-speed pitch right there. Sano trying to leave the yard with the first pitch, and then Gray takes a little something off the second one. Quickly ahead, 2 strikes.
This is where Sano has excelled in his first weeks in the big leagues, and he checks his swing there. No swing, 1-2. What we've seen from this green rookie, some composure and the ability to check his swing on close pitches, but then also take close pitches, extend the count, and very often get a big hit at the end of the at bat. 1-2. The check swing, 2-2.
I think there is a fine art, and guys have it or don't have it. And I know guys fight it. I talked to Danny Gladden today about what we're talking about right here. Miguel Sano has the ability to track the ball. He sees the ball a fraction of a second longer. You looked at Kenny Vargas when he was really scuffling. It was almost like he had predetermined when he was going to swing. And when you do that, you're guessing, and you're always in trouble. But the guys that have the patience to track the ball and trust their ability to react to that ball seem to have more success. Easier said than done. I can only imagine. We're talking fractions of a second. But Sano just has that look. And you can tell watching him, especially from the center field camera, that he's just locked in.
2-2.
The way Sonny Gray just stepped off the mound, it's like whatever pitch Stephen Vogt just called, he didn't want to throw that one. Upon further review, I don't think I'm going to throw that one.
Now the 2-2. 3-2. Regardless of how this plate appearance turns out, this is what we've been talking about.
The previous pitch is part of the reason Gray is probably thinking, okay, when a guy takes those nasty breaking balls that are on the black and he's able to lay off of them and go 3-2, it puts more pressure on the pitcher.
Runners stay put, and Sano takes a walk.
What a great at bat.
And they're loaded up. The rookie, who doesn't have 50 plate appearances yet, has just drawn his 9th walk. And they're loaded up now for Trevor Plouffe.
Kurt Young, the pitching coach, on his way out to try to settle down his right-hander, Sonny Gray.
You know, as you were describing your conversation with Dan Gladden, the ability to track the ball, and we saw Kenny Vargas almost predetermine whether he was going to swing or not. You know, it strikes me again that, you know, when you watch hitters very early in their careers and then at the very end of their careers, if they're lucky to play long enough, they tend to fall into the same habit at the end of their careers as they do in the beginning.
The difference is at the end they don't have the ability to have the quick hands anymore, so they're cheating a fraction. They know they have to cheat because they don't have the physical strength, the physical attributes that they do when they're young. When they're young, it's just the confidence and trusting themselves. They know they can do it, but they haven't really lock that into their thought process yet.
Big at bat now for Trevor Plouffe. Loaded up, 1 down. Twins trying to add to a 1-0 lead. And Plouffe takes strike on the outside corner.
Plouffe with one of the 3 hits for the Twins. Sharp single to right past Eric Sogard back in the 2nd inning.
Here a sacrifice fly would be greeted with applause in the dugout. Chop to the right side and foul. 2 strikes.
Well, Gray's really going to have to pitch himself out of a tough situation here.
Another rookie hitting behind Plouffe, Eddie Rosario. So Plouffe in the same spot Sano was in. And Sano wouldn't chase. Was able to check his swing a couple of times. Ended up drawing a walk. We'll see what the more veteran player can get done here.
The importance of getting ahead is so obvious. Sonny Gray's in control right here. And he might get Trevor to expand the zone.
It's foul. Still 0-2.
Typically you don't get guys to swing out of the zone when you're throwing on the inner half. But what you're doing is trying to open up the plate, the outer half of the plate for the next pitch.
Saw Trevor take a pitch away from him and line it sharply into right field for a single in the 2nd. A high fly to left field and deep. Zobrist back, still back. That ball is gone. A grand slam for Trevor Plouffe. He nearly passed Sano at first base, but it's a grand slam for Trevor Plouffe.
Sano taking the home run trot, kind of forcing Trevor Plouffe to really take a slow trot. But wow, there's the one mistake that the Twins capitalized on, and what a big mistake it was. 4 runs come across, and the Twins now have a 5-0 lead.
Couple of productive plate appearances after the count fell to 0-2.
Yeah, and that hanging breaking ball just spun and stayed up in the zone about letter high. Trevor jumped all over it. We didn't know if it was going to carry. We knew that would score the run at 3rd in Brian Dozier.
And now Rosario lines a single to center, and the Twins have capitalized here in the 6th.
That's the 2nd career grand slam for Trevor Plouffe.
Both of them this year. You know, talked with you today. I talked with Tommy Malone today. I talked to Kurt Suzuki today about, as evening settles in here, the ball just doesn't carry, yet that one carried farther than I thought it was going to carry. And I think we saw somebody in the Twins dugout there offer up a wow that ball left the yard.
You know what's crazy is during batting practice, I was out, you were out there, and the wind was really howling straight in from left field. The flags were straighting, those flags that you see in the upper left-hand corner of your monitor there. We're really flying into left, and yet the ball was shooting out there. And I don't know as though I've seen that, but I know that huge piece of concrete out in center field has got a dramatic effect on how the ball does carry now here at this ballpark.
Big home run by Plouffe and 2 big walks have contributed to a 4-run inning. And now down and in to Hicks. Sonny Gray, who's been so good, came into the game with an ERA of just over 2. Dan Otero warming up. And the Twins have hit 2 big home runs against Gray to take a 5-0 lead. There goes Rosario. Vogt's throw. And somehow Rosario slipped the tag of Semien. And it's a stolen base for Rosario, and the count to Hicks now 2-1.
Sonny Gray definitely out of his game this inning. He's thrown 33 pitches in this inning. There's another look at the slide by Rosario.
Almost looked on that angle like Rosario got tagged in the face. 2-1 to Hicks. No challenge from the A's. And a strike call. 2-2.
He went from a very, very quick, low pitch game to 90 pitches here.
3 straight 1, 2, 3 innings. I don't think he threw 10 pitches in any of the 3 innings, did he?
Right around there.
Hicks pulls it foul. Butch Davis gets out of the way.
It just shows how tough this game is at times. A guy can really be locked in and that quickly. A couple walks. We talk about the leadoff walk. Guess what? He came in to score. His 3rd walk. Miguel Sano, great at bat. That came in to score because of the one swing of the bat by Trevor Plouffe,
who fell behind 0-2 and then got a hanger and blasted it. 2-2 to Hicks. And a full count now to Hicks. He drew the only other walk issued by Gray other than the 2 this inning in the 6th. Suzuki on deck.
If you're Irvin Santana sitting in the dugout, you've got to realize that your team just scored you 4 runs. You got 5 runs to work with now. You've got to come out and be ready for that first hitter. Try to make sure you get an out in that first at bat.
Chopped right side. Sogard throws out Hicks, and Rosario goes to 3rd. 2 down. Well, one thing I'll say about Santana, he'll be the first guy to cross the line. He gets out to the mound quickly after the Twins hit, and he'll be ready to go. Suzuki will hit with a runner at 3rd, 2 down.
What we've seen of him so far is he works fast. He's not like Mike Pelfrey at times where he labors between pitches. He's not afraid to get the signal from the catcher and let it go.
Suzuki with a fly to right, and then he struck out on 3 pitches in the 5th. High fly left center field, and Burns with the catch. Good inning for the Twins. It started with a leadoff walk to Dozier. Miguel Sano drew a walk after falling behind 0-2, and the payoff came on Plouffe's 2nd grand slam of the year. Presented by Toyota. See where Toyota takes you. Test drive one at your Toyota dealer. Toyota, let's go places. By Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, for the everyday competitor in all of us. and by McDonald's. With $1.69 iced coffees and 69-cent vanilla cones, you can get Totes treats excited all summer long at McDonald's. 5-0 Twins. Irvin Santana will pitch to the top of the Oakland batting order, and he misses the outside corner to Billy Burns. 1-0. Burns 0 for 2. The ground ball to Mauer and fouled out to Plouffe. The ground ball to Mauer. Backhand. The ball came up into his heel and just barely getting Burns, who slid in head first. Santana beat him to the bag. 1 strike, or 1 out.
Twins came out early, 12:30 early hitting today after the All-Star break, and one of the things that Paul Molitor worked on was the pitcher's fielding practice. Irvin Santana was not a part of that because he's tonight's starting pitcher, but he got over there. We talk about how fast Burns is, and yet Santana was able to beat him over there. Close play, but a good play.
1 down, and here's Stephen Vogt.
More importantly, Irvin gets that first out. Tom Kelly really preached that. When I came over to the Twins in that 1991 season, there was one thing he was just insistent upon for all of us pitchers is when our team scores, get them back in the dugout and take that momentum away from the other team of getting back in the game. Huge part of this game that really, even as a veteran pitcher, I never thought about it the way that Tom Kelly preached it. And now I see more than ever the importance of it.
Sparky must have said the same thing.
You know, he did. And I probably had every coach along the way that said the same thing, but sometimes it takes a while to sink in.
2 strikes to Stephen Vogt. And a soft liner. Mauer goes down to a knee to block it, catch it, go to the bag. 2 down. And now we're getting a few more ground ball outs. Irvin Santana is getting a few more ground ball outs. A Carsoup.com trivia question. The only Twins pitcher to win 10 or more games after the All-Star break. And I'll go Brad. No, I'm going to go Johan Santana. And
there you go.
Santana. Yep. And oddly enough, as I think it's been well documented, that's Irvin Santana's birthday. Johan Santana. He changed it to Irvin because there was already a Johan Santana of some note in the big leagues.
I did not know that.
1-0. And now 2-0. Zobrist lined out to Hicks in the first and fouled out to Mauer, leaving the bases full in the third. It's the only opportunity the A's have had to score. It's the only time they've had a base runner until now. A 2-out single for Zobrist. Better here in the 6th inning than with the bases loaded in the 3rd.
And better with 2 outs than any other time. You're in a situation, you got a big lead. Throw strikes. He's working fast. Now he just needs somebody to hit another fly ball or a ground ball right at somebody. Get the Twins back in the dugout.
51 runs batted in for Reddick. 33 of them have been delivered with a 2-out hit. That leads Major League Baseball. Santana misses down and away. Ball 1. Hits the outside corner. 1-1.
I know pitching coach Neil Allen has really tried to preach working fast, throwing strikes. It keeps the defenders so much more on their toes.
And I don't know if Santana got a piece of it or not. Dozier cleans it up, ends the inning. 2-out single does no damage, and it's still 5-0 Twins. Twins up 5-0.
Brian Dozier gets it started off with his first at-bat, puts the Twins up front real quick in this one. And then Ervin Santana does a great job through 6 innings, works out of a jam. Back in the 3rd inning, and Trevor Plouffe, the big blow, a grand slam in the 6th inning for the Twins. Put 4 runs up on the board. Twins lead this one 5-0.
And essentially, they've knocked out Sonny Gray. Dan Otero will relieve Gray in the 7th inning. And he'll face Danny Santana, Brian Dozier, and Torrey Hunter. Otero, part of a beleaguered bullpen. We've talked about Oakland's great starting pitching. One of the reasons they are where they are, numbers like this.
Dan Otero, big part of the A's bullpen last year, and he was pitching in AAA just a short time ago. So they've recalled him, hoping that maybe he's got his form back. But yeah, there's a lot of changes in that Oakland A's bullpen from a year ago.
Santana, Dozier, and Hunter here in the Twins 7th. Well, back mentioned at one point the A's were 16 games below 500. And since that point, that loss on May 22nd, they do have the best record in the American League. But you can see the bullpen has not been nearly as efficient
as their starters, for sure.
And Santana chases a high fastball. 2nd strikeout of the night for the Twins shortstop. 1 down. Brian Dozier's had a couple of significant plate appearances. The leadoff homer in the 1st, the leadoff walk in the 6th. The Twins followed with a single, another walk, and then Plouffe's grand slam. Before we get too far along tonight, we want to pass along our deepest sympathy to the family of Twins assistant general manager Rob Anthony. Rob lost his mom the other day. And so to Rob and Lynn, the whole Anthony clan, our thoughts are with you out here on the West Coast, and our prayers are with you as well.
Absolutely.
Dozier takes outside.
You see that it kind of seems like whatever Brian Dozier's doing, it's nothing but good. I mean, this is a guy that was among the league leaders in runs scored last year. He's up there again this year. He creates havoc, and he was not even thought about as being a typical leadoff guy, but he's done such a great job. I think Paul has gotten to the point where he's accepted that's his role, and that's where he's going to be.
Funny looking swing for Brian, but he got a piece to stay alive, leading the major leagues in runs scored. The Tigers beat the Orioles 7-3, a matchup of 2 contending teams, yet both teams were 500 at the beginning of the day. Royals and White Sox split a doubleheader. Dozier strikes out 2 down. And the Indians lost to the Reds 6-1. The bottom line is the Twins, if they win here tonight, would be in position to pick up a half game on Kansas City and be just 4 games back.
Number 48, Torrey Hunter.
Hunter with a single and a run scored. Gray, who walked Dozier before Hunter's at bat, fell behind Hunter 3-1. And now Torrey with a little flare on the left has his second base hit. Didn't hit either one on the line or a bullet or anything like that, but he'll take the 2 hits in advance of his 40th birthday tomorrow. Spend your summer at Target Field. Become a Twins season ticket holder with the new Pick 10 plan. You pick 10 games against the opponents you want to see defeated and save off the box office price. Enjoy sweet spot benefits exclusive to Twins season ticket holders, including 10% off game day food and merchandise at Target Field. Learn more about package options by visiting twinsbaseball.com/pick10, or of course you can call 612-33-TWINS. Mauer takes a strike over the inside corner. Oh for 3, 2 ground outs and a strikeout in potentially a key spot in the 6th. But then Sano worked his way back from 0-2 to draw a walk. And Plouffe hit an 0-2 pitch for a grand slam. Swing and a miss, 0-2. for Mauer at the 60th strikeout on his season, 331 at bats. Brian Dozier, the All-Star, leading the team by far with 78 strikeouts. And solidly into center field, a base hit, and Hunter will round second and go to third. 2-out single for Hunter, backed up by another 2-out single by Mauer, and that'll get Sano to the plate.
These are the at-bats now. Sano having a tremendous at-bat, his last time to the plate. But this is where Paul Molitor really preaches to his team. And it's hard to get runs scored and plated with 2 outs. And you're in a situation where you could just kind of be on cruise control with a 5-run lead. But to grind out these at-bats right here, you've got an RBI sitting 90 feet away. And to have a quality at-bat for whatever Twins hitter right in these kind of situations is really what Paul's trying to preach to his guys.
Pulled foul. Tell you what Sano did in the 6th inning, when maybe the best starting pitcher in the American League, at least from the right side, Sonny Gray is up there. He just struck out Bauer, got ahead of Sano 0-2. And the A's are thinking, look, we'll get the rookie to roll over on one. He'll hit a ground ball to short, whatever. Strikeout, double play, the threat will be over. But what Sano did is really remarkable. And he's getting a left-hander warming up. And now a half swing by Sano, and strike 3. And that's exactly what Gray wanted to do to the rookie in the 6th inning. But he didn't. Twins leave 2 aboard in the 7th.
Now 5-0 behind Irvin Santana. And just a reminder, this copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the Minnesota Twins and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the counts and description of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Minnesota Twins.
Well, Ricky Henderson won the race.
Shocker.
He beat Raleigh Fingers and Dennis Eckersley, a couple of pitchers.
Well, Eck could run a little, and Raleigh's still one of my heroes, man. He's a man's man.
That's a foul ball, not by much. Butler put the barrel on it and pounded it foul.
But not too many guys are going to beat Ricky. I'm not sure about the shades. All the Hall of Famers are up there on the tarp in center field. Oakland Hall of Famers.
One and two to Butler. Lined out to Hunter in the second, hit a fly ball to Hicks his next time up. Little roller, and Mauer, knowing who's running, goes way over in front of Dozier to make the play. Santana covers. Bert Blyleven always says he wanted his first baseman to go as far to their right as they could, figuring it was his job to be on the bag anyway.
That's right. That's why they have these practices. And look where Dozier was playing. He was playing right behind second base, so Mauer knows that also. And just a good play all around. Joe getting to the ball and then making an accurate throw over there. Like Santana might have overran the bag a little bit, but he had plenty of time with Billy Butler running to find that bag and record the out.
Well, that pitcher's fielding practice they had today coming in handy again. Now up the middle to the shortstop Santana. 2 down. We'll bring up Brent Laurie. Promised earlier in the game, we've selected the Data Strong Fan photo of the game. You can tweet your strongest fan photo to hashtag #NorthDataStrongFan for a chance to be featured in an upcoming broadcast. Brought to you by T-Mobile. And there you have it, Twins fans. I'm sure enjoying the game here tonight, 5-0. All right, so how can a pitcher get almost exclusively fly ball outs through 4 innings, and now just about every out since then has been on the ground?
You just got to be crafty, that's all. You would rather have it the other way here in Oakland.
There's a line drive, 2-out single for Laurie.
As the night progresses, it gets a little cooler and cooler, and the ball travels less. So you'd want to get your fly balls late.
First 12 outs, 11 of them were on fly ball outs. Yep. Last 8 outs on 7 ground balls.
4th base hit that Irvin Santana has given up. And the last 2, anyway, were with 2 outs. So he's doing a good job of attacking the strike zone. They've got a very good pace. Throwing strikes, coming after the hitters.
Sogard with a fly to left and a line out to center. That's another liner to center, and Hicks with the catch. Another quick inning. Another shutout inning for Irvin Santana, and the Twins carry their 5-0 lead. Run in the 6th. Got a split doubleheader between the Royals and the White Sox, and with the split doubleheader, the Twins have a chance to go now 50-40 and actually finish the day 4 games back in the American League Central. Fernando Abad will pitch next for Oakland.
33rd game for Abad. Dan Otero, he pitches 1 inning, strikes out 3, gives up a couple hits, so Abad will take over, try to keep the Twins in check.
Plouffe, Rosario, and Hicks in the 8th inning. Just outside, ball 1. Plouffe fell behind 0-2 with 1 out and the bases loaded in the 6th. And Sonny Gray left one up, and Trevor lifted it just over the wall in left field for a grand slam.
I think there was a total of 2 balls up in the zone, and both of them were over the left field wall. Sonny Gray just making a couple mistakes that cost him.
On the ground hard on 1 hop to Laurie. 1 down. And that'll bring up Rosario. Rosario singled after the Plouffe home run, stole second, was left at third base.
Paul Mahler describes Eddie Rosario as a guy that's got baseball instincts, and I couldn't agree more. And one of the instincts that he has is the ability to keep the bat in the strike zone as long as possible.
It's dribbled up the line.
That's going to be a tough play.
And Rosario is safe. Sidestepped Davis's tag, slid in the grass, and reached for the bag with his hand. And Bob Melvin is wondering why Rosario wasn't called out for running out of the baseline.
You know, I don't know how this rule states, but it's baseball instincts we were talking about. He knows that Davis is going to have a play on him, and yet part of his body, his upper body anyway, stayed in the base paths. It's just his lower body had to go out there. He avoided the tag. And again, that's baseball instincts. That's just reacting to a guy and doing whatever you can. That's a base hit. It's got to be.
Twins out hitting the A's now 8-4, and Hicks takes down an in-ball 1. Hicks drew a walk in the 2nd. Hit a bullet to Davis for an out leading off the 5th, and then tapped out to Sogard in the 6th. And there's a foul. 1-1.
We talked about the speed of Danny Santana, of Byron Buxton, but Eddie Rosario, he's got very good speed.
Stole a base the last time he was on the base in the 6th inning. Foul back 1-2. Rosario with on the season 8 steals in 12 tries. The Twins as a team 45 out of 76, which is not the desired success rate. Paul Molitor in his career stole bases at about an 80% clip, one of the highest in history. Fouled back. Rumors are a lot of foul territory here, but that one's out of play.
I would say 40%. I'm just guessing because I don't know the real number. But I would say that 40% of Paul Molitor's stolen bases were the elements of surprise, where he would know that the pitcher wasn't paying attention, or he would know that the second baseman, shortstop weren't paying attention, were not going to cover, or that the catcher might be a little bit lax out there, and he'd take advantage of it. And that's what he's trying to preach to his guys, is understand situations.
We saw Hicks earlier this year successfully pull off a delayed steal. He was attempting to do that in the 2nd inning. He was aboard with a walk. There were 2 outs. Santana was at the plate with 2 strikes, and Hicks hesitated, then took off for second. Now Santana struck out, so it didn't matter. 2-2, and now a full count. But that's the type of thing that you're talking about.
Well, the game is so balanced nowadays. teams just don't seem to have a huge advantage over the other team. And it's the little things that you can execute that makes the difference.
Well, to right center field, and Burns in the gap has it measured, and it's out number 2. Well, just think, most of the games that we watch, we'll pick up that thought in a moment. The Twins and the Mariners squaring off at Target Field July 30th through August 2nd. Friday night includes Friday night fireworks with music presented by Cool 108 and a special happy hour at Barrio from 4:30 to 5:30. Saturday is a DQ Sensational Saturday. Sunday is Super America Knothole Kids Day. Call 800-33-TWINS or visit twinsbaseball.com and catch some Twins baseball this summer. 2 down. Suzuki, the batter, he is 0 for 3. And a strike.
Still has a lot of fans. Kurt Suzuki playing the majority of his career here in Oakland, and very well liked. Did a great job for the A's when he was here.
He may have been talking to the fans. He's still got a lot of fans wearing Oakland uniforms. He had 2 stints here with the A's, and the A's have rolled their roster over substantially over the last few years, but very well respected professional. And foul back 1-2.
There is some activity in the Oakland bullpen. Fernando Rodriguez, the right-hander's up and throwing.
No activity in the Twins pen. Irvin Santana will get every opportunity to complete at least 8. 2-2.
In part because of getting out of that one jam in the 3rd inning. Pretty much on cruise control after that. He has not had a lot of high stress innings, and his pitch count right around 90 going into the 8th inning. All good. It's been a very good outing for Irvin Santana.
Foul back. When the Twins played the A's at Target Field in early May, they lost the opening game 8-7. Then won by scores. Excuse me, they won the opening game 8-7. Lost 2-1 to Jesse Chavez. Pitches up, and now Rosario is thrown out at second. Rosario 1 for 2 and stolen bases. The Twins are done in the 8th. They lead at 5-0. Thank you, Tom. Irvin Santana out there. He's been very sharp here tonight. He delivers strike one to Marcus Semien. He has scattered 4 hits. They've been singles. He hasn't walked a man. And the only serious trouble he found himself in was the result of an error and a pair of singles. And he left the bases full in the 3rd, working quickly, 0-2. And Semien feels fortunate there to get a piece.
Paul Molitor was talking about Irvin Santana in his first outing against Kansas City in Kansas City after his suspension. And he was saying, man, nobody could have expected him to have pitched any better. And he also talked, Marty Gellner reported, about how he's going to get dialed in and that he's going to have more consistency. But going into the second half, Paul's looking pretty smart to throw him out there, because this is as good as we can expect any Twins pitcher to pitch.
Pitches up.
There is some activity. Casey Fiend.
And what this means is, by starting him today, he'll also get a chance to pitch in Anaheim against the Angels. Semien strikes out. And there haven't, in fact, I have that as the first strikeout of the night.
First strikeout.
Santana. I say there haven't been many strikeouts. That's his first one.
Well, he hasn't had to go deep in counts. You got to throw 3 pitches to get a strikeout. If you can get 2 with a fly ball.
Fiend and Dunsing warming up. And a breaking ball off the plate. Semien offers at it. Now Billy Burns. Ball 1. Still some work to do, but that said, 5 outs to go. And the Twins would see Irvin Santana get his first win of the year. It would be the team's 50th. Last year, the Twins won on August 3rd. It was their 50th win of the year. But by then, they'd already lost 60. Up the middle into center field, a base hit. If they win here tonight, the Twins will be 50-40. So that's another interesting way to look at it. The Twins, above 500, 10 games above 500 if they win here tonight. But they've gotten to this point, if they get their 50th win, minus 20 losses.
Another incredible way of looking at where the Twins are involves Irvin Santana. He was signed in the offseason, premier free agent acquisition for the Twins, highest paid free agent ever in Twins history. And he's looking forward to his first win. Okay? Put it in perspective. He hasn't been out there, and the Twins are still second best record in the American League going into the second half. So his contribution, and I don't know as though we can expect this kind of effort every time he's out there, but it certainly would be welcomed by Twins fans.
And for that, the fact that the Twins have the second best record in the American League, 1-on-1 to vote and a throw to first, you can thank the likes of Mike Pelfrey, who was not in the rotation at the start of the year and got a chance because of the suspension. You can thank Trevor May, who was not with the club at the start of the year, but Nolasco's situation in combination with Santana's allowed May to come up. May has 6 wins. Pelfrey has 5 wins.
Yeah, both Gibson and Hughes have 8 wins. And Nolasco has 5 wins, but very good likelihood that Ricky Nolasco may not throw another ball for the Twins this summer. We don't know that for sure, but there's a chance.
1-2, and pitch just inside, 2-2.
But my point is, the guy they went out to get to anchor the staff hasn't had a chance to pitch much, and the Twins are still holding their own. So this is only, it's like they're adding an ace that everybody wants right now, and the Twins have one.
And yet we need to remind viewers of something we've been pretty consistent on. If the Twins were to get to postseason, this man, Irvin Santana, won't be part of the playoff roster because of the suspension. He has not paid the full price yet, perhaps. Burns is a threat to steal. Don't know about the A's being down 5-0, but trying to get something going. You can imagine with Burns getting a huge lead. Now time called somewheres.
Well, into his third start, 97 pitches. And I don't imagine they're going to extend him too many more past 100. So Neil Allen and Paul Molitor would love to see a couple quick outs here and get Santana through 8.
And now time called
in the middle of a pitch.
And Santana turns his back to home plate umpire Tom Hallion, who granted time to Stephen Vogt.
That's something that really does annoy a pitcher. When you're calling timeout, I'm in the middle of my delivery. You watch this here. He's already throwing the ball before he actually calls timeout. That's just annoying.
And that's to left field. It'll carry to Rosario on a line out number 2. Santana trying to complete 8 shutout innings here, and he'll face Ben Zobrist with a runner at first and 2 down.
And more importantly, he's getting through the real meat of the Oakland A's lineup and Vogt and Zobrist.
Whoever gets the 9th won't have to face those guys.
Right. Well, they'll get Reddick and Butler, but I think these 2 guys are the kind of the key to their offense.
Burns 17 steals in 20 tries.
There he goes.
And he takes off, and Suzuki throws, but there's no chance.
No. Great jump right there. That was all off Irvin Santana.
Pitch called a ball, and the next pitch will be pitch number 100.
First Oakland A's runner in scoring position since the 3rd inning. 2 outs.
And a strike called over the inside corner. 1-1. Missing down and away, 2-1. Reddick hoping for a chance here in the 8th inning. And now 3-1. Santana has not walked a man. Had just a couple of 3-ball counts.
Well, he's got 5 runs to work with. You want to try to come back and go ahead and challenge Zobrist here. I know he's one of the better hitters, but don't put another runner on with a free pass.
And that's ball 4, and a ball that gets by Suzuki. 1st and 3rd, 2 down. That might be the end of the night for Irvin Santana. Left-hander Brian Dunson's warmed up with Reddick coming to the plate. And Mauer to the mound. And here comes Paul Molitor to make the change. Irvin Santana gets 23 outs here tonight. So far, he's got a shutout. 1st and 3rd, 2 down, and Reddick will face Brian Dunsing with the Twins in front, 5-0. Santana with a great Twins debut and an even better outing here tonight.
Yeah, getting congratulated from his team. He certainly did a great job keeping the Twins in this game, in a close game early, and then a big swing, one swing from Trevor Plouffe kind of gave him a big lead, but Irvin really battled this one. Goes 7 2/3 innings. Very unusual to see a guy pitch in the 8th inning and only have 1 walk and 1 strikeout. You don't see that every day, but Santana doing a great job, feeling his position and making pitches that he need to make. Now Brian Dunsing will take over.
They face a pinch hitter. The A's pinch hitting for their cleanup batter, Josh Reddick, who was 0 for 3 tonight. But this is where the inner math leads to a managerial decision. Reddick 1 for 11 against Dunsing, and Bob Melvin realizes he needs to get something out of this at bat. Substitutes for his cleanup batter. A strike called, now a ball.
That's Jake Smolinski.
62 at bats, 1 home run, 6 runs batted in, 20 strikeouts. One and one from Dunsing to Smolinski. Hit to center. Hicks is there. There have been some line drive outs in this game. Dunsing with a big one to strand a couple of runners in the 8th. Trevor Plouffe's grand slam in the 6th inning, giving the Twins some breathing room. First batter of the game hit a home run. And Fernando Rodriguez will come out of the Oakland bullpen. Something spooked some Twins in the dugout, and in this ballpark that could be anything. Could be a snake.
What do you mean?
Could be a rat.
They're amongst the greatest remodeling ever. They painted some hallways. They put in a really nice elevator.
Thankfully, we have the same carpeting up here in our tabletop that we've had for the last 15 years. Here's Suzuki. And a strike on the outside corner. Suzuki, Santana, and Dozier in the Twins' 9th. One of the reasons Santana was asked to pitch the first game of this series, he's had great success against the A's, and that has extended through tonight. Now 7 2/3 innings of shutout ball. Inside. You know, Suzuki's offensive numbers not what they were a year ago when he went to the All-Star game and caught the 9th inning, Glenn Perkins. But I know he would tell you he's enjoying this season so much more, whether his batting average is 50 points lower, the run production not nearly what it was. Ball kicked by Laurie, and Suzuki will reach first and reach second base. So Laurie will get charged with at least one error. And Davis probably should have at least knocked that ball down, but I think he thought he still had a chance to get the out, even though Laurie mishandled it twice.
They teach kids all the time, errors come in pairs, and let's not throw when you don't need to. Let's not panic. You already made one mistake.
Number 39, Manny Santana.
Two errors, both of them charged to Laurie. And I mean, my goodness, Jack, they've only got one error posted there, but we're told they will add another one. All right, so
there's 3 more.
Well,
2 more. Two more.
Right, there's just 2 in this game.
Right.
All right.
Twins made them.
So the Oakland starting shortstop has 28 errors. Brett Laurie now has 16. Now I can do the math and tell you that that's 44 errors for the left side of the infield. That's a big number. Now you saw Laurie when he was with the Blue Jays, when you were broadcasting games, and you believe
I think he's a tremendous fielder. It's just that he sometimes is so overamped. He does things so fast. He's always been kind of a hyperactive kid, and he's had a tough time learning to slow down. Most guys, big league level, you always talk about the game's too fast for him. For Brett, he's got to learn how to slow the game down a little bit.
Foul tip wing to Tom Hallion. It's the second time he's gotten drilled by a foul tip here tonight. On the left shoulder. His prior foul tip got him in the mask.
You know, I don't know if you've ever got an explanation for it, but I certainly still would love to hear why the umpires went away from the big balloon chest protector, and they used to sit right over top of the catcher so they could see both sides of the plate. And granted, I mean, that was an ugly old piece of equipment, but it certainly saved a lot of tough foul balls that umpires have worn.
You get a chance here. Longtime umpire Ed Montague sitting across the glass from us, and he's now an umpire supervisor. But you know, we've taken extraordinary measures to protect
every part of the game,
players, right. And now we're going to do it. I know we are, for fans of the game, and yet the umpires have
regressed.
Yes, and I don't know why that is either. Foul back. Now that was an American League only implement, that the balloon protector. The National League umpires did not use that.
Well, they probably looked better, you know, the National League guys, although I better not go there.
We've had a nice benign broadcast here tonight. Let's not get in trouble right before midnight, okay?
They all wear a mask for a reason.
Santana fouls it back. But to your point, I mean, you know, my goodness, there's a couple of pitchers out there wearing the padded caps. There's Ed Montague, and it's not the most flattering shot of Ed, but you know, it's the best we got.
Yeah.
He's well protected behind the plexiglass in the press box. But we've got pitchers wearing padded caps to be safer. Santana with a little pop-up left side of the infield. Santana's had a tough first game out of the break. 1 down. Join us July 26th for a Super America Knothole Kids Day as the Twins take on the Yankees. The first 5,000 fans 14 and under get a Danny Santana kids jersey, a youth medium or extra large, presented by U.S. Bank. Go to twinsbaseball.com/tickets. Get your tickets today. 1 down, Suzuki at second, and here's Brian Dozier. And a strike call.
The one thing I can say to finalize that conversation about the chest protectors for umpires is that there's more freedom for them to call maybe those close sliding plays at home when they don't have to get rid of that big balloon and that big padded air. It was air padding about 4 or 5 inches thick. They blow them up, and now they've got the chest protector that catchers wear basically underneath their jersey, and they have more freedom to move.
Dozier pops it up near the Twins dugout, and it'll spin back out of play. Well, when you started, umpires still had the inflatable protector, and their head, as you said, was right over the middle
for the most part, unless it was a real tall catcher, and then they'd still try to sneak in between the catcher like they do now and the hitter. They're always, whether it be a lefty or righty, they're always trying to be between the hitter and the catcher, kind of get a little more protection.
0-2 to Dozier, and outside. It's something I suspect that would have to start in the minor leagues. You're asking umpires to change how they've done business now for 20-some years. And Dozier with a swing. First base is open, so Vogt has to make a throw to complete the strikeout. 2 down. And that'll bring up Torrey Hunter.
So Rodriguez picks up his first strikeout.
Now batting, number 48, Torrey Hunter.
Couple of singles in his last 2 at bats to get the average up to 260.
There is another argument. I guess I may never be done with this conversation, but pitchers are throwing faster, harder now than ever before, and I don't think that's going to go away, because scouts are so impressed with the ability to swing and miss and room for error when guys are in the high 90s. We saw Aroldis Chapman throw 103 in the All-Star game. As an umpire, I'd rather have that chest protector and have a little more protection. And guys are bringing it up there in the high 90s. Those foul tips are going to hurt even more.
One and one to Hunter. And now 2-1.
Torrey having a good day, 2 for 4 at the plate. Scored a run.
Hit to the outfield might drive in his 50th run of the year. Swing and a foul. Marvel tomorrow, and we'll talk more about it, of course. It was a man who still playing on a almost everyday basis at the age of 40, could still fit into his rookie uniform. He can do that, all of that, because like his manager, still had a passion for the game in his later years. Paul Molitor had it. Obvious Torrey Hunter does. My goodness, in the Tiger Series at Target Field, the guy a week away from his 40th birthday made a tumbling catch with a somersault at the end, and he came up standing.
Well, he's kept himself in tremendous shape, and still at age 40, he's in phenomenal shape.
And a bouncer foul.
I think he relishes his role as a veteran player right now, probably more so than he did when he was young and in his prime. He likes being the mentor. He knows that when he says things, young players pay attention. He remembers what it was like when he was that young guy.
And Hunter strikes out with a look back at Tom Hallion. Ryan Dunsing will try to finish off the A's in the ninth. brought to you by CenturyLink. Game 2 of the series. Twins knocked around Scott Kazmir at Target Field earlier this year, and Phil Hughes will make the start for the Twins. Kazmir having another very good year. And we'll get started with everything. The pregame and first pitch an hour earlier than tonight.
Well, when you're in the position record-wise that the Oakland A's are, you're probably not going to have the greatest win-loss ratio. But his ERA right around 2.5.
Strike one to Billy Butler. Butler is 0 for 3. Then it'll be Ike Davis who's 0 for 3. And then Brent Laurie who's 1 for 3. All the Oakland hits have been singles. And there have only been 5 of those. 1-1. Dunsing has seen his role increase as we've rolled into July, and now we're roughly halfway through it. Mark Canha is in the on-deck circle. He'll hit next. Twins rode Aaron Thompson pretty hard through the first 2 months, and then Thompson struggled a little bit in June, even more so in July, and now the veteran Dunsing filling a familiar role for him later in the game. Key outs, key situations in the 8th, 1st and 3rd, 2 down. Yeah, it's a 5-run ball game, but if the A's get a big hit there with the middle of the lineup coming up next, well, then there's a little anxiety, and Dunsing got the last out.
Yeah, Dunce is really, I mean, he took a while to kind of get back in the groove after his injury earlier in the year, and hasn't really pitched as many innings as we've seen in the past. But he's still a big part of this. A left-handed arm out of the pen that has had plenty of experience, understands situations, and Twins need him to step up and be the Brian Dunsing they've seen over the years.
No mysteries here with Billy Butler. Butler 5 hits, 23 at bats against Dunsing, with Butler's big league career prior to this year spent in the American League Central with Kansas City. Twins won the last game here last year. Prior to that, they'd lost 12 straight games here. Up and away, now 3-2. Twins would like to get through this game using just 2 pitchers. I know they had a 4-day All-Star break. There's an off day coming up on Monday, but yeah, I know how this goes. Yeah, but by the end of the Angels series, we'll be talking about the bullpen being overworked.
Well, you get a good, well-pitched game out of your starter, and you pitch into the 8th inning like Irvin Santana did. Certainly, you only want one more guy out of the pen. Give me 3-4 outs. Casey Fiend is the insurance policy for Paul Molitor and Neil Allen.
3-2 again to Billy Butler. And another foul back. Foul. Looking at Butler's 23 at bats against Dunsing, there have been a lot of strikeouts, a few singles mixed in, 1 double, a home run, but generally Dunsing's gotten him out, keeping the ball off the barrel of his bat.
You get a leadoff hitter here. You want to go after him. 5 runs to work with. Throw the strike. Make him hit the ball.
That's hit well to right field. Hunter going back at the wall, makes the catch, 1 away. One down. There's an old picture we dug up. That's what you're talking about, the inflatable balloon protector, they called it.
Yeah, imagine that. Billy Martin, umpire, arguing with an umpire, but certainly that was it. It was about 4 inches thick, and it was filled with air. And I'm not sure how they filled it, quite honestly. I imagine they would deflate it and put it in their travel bag. I couldn't imagine them carrying it through the airport.
Well, The great stories of some rookie was making his first major league at bat, and it was a long game, and he was pinch hitting in the 9th inning with 2 outs, stood in the batter's box, and he couldn't figure out what the hissing sound was, and it was the home plate umpire who had already released the valve. He was going home real soon. So the rookie knew that he'd better swing away.
Swing.
Here is Canna hitting for Davis. And fouled back. Canna with 207 at bats. Doing okay, 8 home runs. Foul back. I don't know what's going to happen to the A's and whether they're going to trade Kazmir, Zobrist, Tyler Clippard, I suppose, is a candidate to be traded. But man, did they have it going a year ago when we were here in early August?
Yeah,
I mean,
I think one thing, and Billy being the general manager has had so many things written about him and all the craziness that he does. By the way, he was a former teammate of mine, and never did I expect him to be a general manager, but then as a player, I guess you don't think of those things. My whole point with Billy is sometimes I think he overlooks team chemistry. And that's what we're really talking about in the Oakland A's teams that have kind of looked like they were postseason bound, and they have been.
Canna strikes out, and that's out number 2. They were just a fun bunch last year. I mean, I'd make a point of going into the both dugouts, both clubhouses during the series, but man, you could see in that Oakland clubhouse last year, they were just a fun bunch of guys. It's easier to have fun when you're winning, I suppose, but 2 down.
Nice pitch there, good breaking ball down that Brian Dunston gets Canada to chase.
And that trade, sending Cespedes to Boston.
That hurt him. He was kind of considered the team leader offensively anyway. I know Chili Davis, former hitting coach here in Oakland, now with Boston, you know, he talked about that chemistry. I know Chili very well. We talk a lot about what's going on with their teams. He said, hey, these guys are having fun. And I think sometimes you got a leader like Cespedes who is crushing the ball and really coming into his own. 2-time home run derby champ for Oakland.
1-1 to Laurie.
And then you lose him. It's tough on everybody, you know. You lose a great teammate, and general manager starts disassembling people. And you lose key elements of the bullpen due to a lot of different things.
Two and 1 for Brent Laurie. On the ground, Brian Dozier. And the first road trip after the break starts with a convincing 5-0 win. Brian Dunston wraps up getting the last 4 outs. Tom Hanneman, how about this? Twins with their 50th win of 2015 with 40 losses. And by the time they'd won their 50th ball game last year, they had already lost 60 ball games.